Welcome to the Pondcast, the destination for insightful discussions and interviews on the appreciation, conservation, and husbandry of reptiles, with a focus on turtles and tortoises. Now, let's join our team of turtle nerds.
Woo! Pondcast episode 92, back and better than ever. I'm Anthony, here with my esteemed colleague and good buddy, Steve Enders. Hi, Steve.
Hey, everybody. Good to see you guys again tonight.
Yeah.
We've looks like we've got a couple of viewers hopping in already as they see it popping up on Facebook.
Nice. They're like, could it be true? A Pondcast? Yeah, it's happening.
You know, I just thinking about this, you know, since there's not necessarily a preset link that everybody's gone to. We probably ought to like slow play the intro a little bit as people like kind of hook in.
I thought the same thing too. We're doing an intro that's going to be heard live by like 1.5 people, but
we've got 8 now. So let's try it again. We've got 8 viewers. Let's really let them have a good one now.
Welcome to the Pondcast, ladies and gentlemen. Episode 92. I'm Anthony, and that is Steve, and we are here for your listening and viewing pleasure. Thank you so much for giving us the honor of spending some time with you to chat about turtles of all things, if you can believe it. Turtles. There's actually a subculture of people that care about shelled reptiles, colonians, if you will. So much so that they'd be willing to tune in and spend some of their free time on no notice, by the way, because getting the word out there isn't necessarily something that we do all the time, and definitely wasn't something we did this month. So if you do tune in, thank you so much, and thank you for always tuning in. So we're here to chat with you about turtles. We've got a couple things we wanted to talk to you about tonight, and then also just, you know, love this as an opportunity for us to get together and catch up. If you were here last time, you heard us talk to Ralph Till. It was a wonderful episode. We try to mix in episodes with a guest, episodes without a guest, and so we can cover some of the topics that we really care a lot about, updates on things, that sort of thing. And you know that Chris hasn't been on lately, and then also that Kevin, two episodes ago, Kevin hilariously, we didn't even make this up. It would have been a great bit to do, but Kevin tried the entire time to get on and couldn't. And then the last show, he worked late, so he wasn't here. But Kevin will be joining us, and we'll see if it'll take the entire show this time for him to show up. That'll be great. I'm embarrassed to even say it.
Right, like truth is stranger than fiction, right? Like
yeah. That's a good way to put it. And then I also just have to give the disclaimer that I maybe forgot. I had maybe a busy day at work, and I got home, and for a split, I knew all day we were doing a podcast tonight. We texted about it, Steve, and we texted with Kevin, and we were talking about it. And it had been the plan for a long time. This was going to be the next show. I think I mentioned it on the last show that we were going to be on this day. And for whatever reason, I got home and I was tired. I got called. I'm on call for the animal hospital 24/7, and I was called both nights over the weekend and woken up both nights over the weekend. We had a small fire at the hospital, literally, at one point, which turned out to not be a big deal, but it really literally was. And then I think yesterday we had someone just kind of leave their pet and abandon it. So they wanted help on what they should do and guidance on what they should do. But anyway, I didn't get any sleep. So I've been really kind of running on fumes, and I got home today and forgot about the podcast for a split second and decided to take a healthy swig of NyQuil around 5 p.m. So I'm going to bed early tonight. This is going to be great. By 7 o'clock, I'm going to be zonked out. And here we are at 7 o'clock Eastern starting the podcast. So this could get interesting.
If you fall asleep in the next 15 to 20 minutes, everybody knows why now. So
right. Everyone will be like, oh man, Anthony's definitely got a drinking problem. He was slurring his words on the podcast. Yeah, I drank some NyQuil, just a little bit, but I'm a lightweight, so we'll see how that goes. Anyway, we are here and happy to chat about turtles. Steve, let's talk about your weekend. You were not awoken by people trying to put out fires. You were doing something much more interesting that I think our viewers will be more interested in than what I was doing.
Yeah, so in the last 2 weekends, in fact, we were out our Turtle Room Wood Turtle population monitoring project the last 2 weekends we were out. We're doing our second and third weekends of our fall survey season. So I don't know. Some of you probably know I get up super early during the week.
That's why he's yawning.
Teaching.
Don't yawn. I can't handle listening to someone yawn right now. Don't do that. I'm going to fall right out.
I'll do my best.
I didn't even feel that tired until that moment. Okay.
Yeah. So with the distance to our survey site on Saturdays, I've been getting up at my normal 4:30 so I can get some turtle chores done. So I was still up super early on Saturday, maybe even earlier than Anthony got woken up for that little fire, and was headed out to survey site 1. So the site that we do on Saturdays is actually it's our newer of the sites. We've been there. This was our third fall there, so we've basically completed 2.5 years worth of surveys there. We survey
time flies, man.
It does. It does.
It's wild. It's just wild. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, we survey 1.25 kilometers of stream there, and we basically just walk it one direction and that's it. So 1.25 kilometers. All right. To put it in perspective, at our other site, we survey 2 kilometers. We've been surveying that site officially since fall of 2017 was when we did our first official survey outside of the preliminary work. If you include the preliminary work, we started in spring of 2016. So we've either completed 5.5 or 7 full years, if you count all the way back, worth of surveys. And again, so that one's 2 kilometers, and we actually then walk it back. So we basically end up spending about 4 kilometers of stream, 2 up and 2 back.
Which is wild. Unless you're actually there and you do it, you can't really quantify what that means. Like those streams are full of slippery rocks, big rocks, and your
muck, mud, sand, silt, gravel, all sorts of different substrates. Clay even sometimes.
It's a challenging walk.
Oh yeah.
It's a really challenging walk. You slip and fall, and 4 kilometers is a nice walk, but when you're
and that one's more challenging to. Yeah, that one's more challenging of a walk than the other one. It's rockier in the streams, and you're familiar with that site. You've been out, a couple times there. But so, cool thing. This on Saturday at the newer site, half the distance, half the length of time, we marked our 100th unique turtle in that site. 100.
That's amazing.
Which is really cool.
Yeah, because you're not putting transmitters on animals, and you're not.
No.
Species
like
diamondback terrapins, where they all come up to nest at the same time in the same spots, and there's easier, or you're trapping or whatever. You are just. That's how many wood turtles you guys have found while going out. Different ones, because you're finding them. Recaptures all the time as well, which is so cool.
Right. So we actually ended up hitting 101 unique turtles marked as of Saturday. So number 100, well, the 100th turtle found, it's not marked number 100. I can tell you some things that happened with field work along the way. It's actually marked number 98, but it was our 100th marked turtle. It was a 1-year-old. A 1-year-old.
Wow, that's really rare.
We found 2 hatchlings there, and we've seen a couple 2-year-olds, we get actually a fair bit of juveniles there, but to find a 1-year-old was really, really cool. And actually right near it, we found a 2-year-old that we had previously captured. So I think that was our first recapture of a 2-year-old.
Wow. Really interesting. Anyone have any idea or theories as to why you found a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old? Because that's rare to find them at any time, right?
Well, so we've been finding I don't know the exact count, but we've probably found at least a half dozen 2-3-year-olds there, at least. There's definitely good recruitment happening in this population. We have, so we've notched turtles everywhere from 1-year-old. We've had 2-year-olds, 3-year-old. We've had hatchlings, 1-year-olds, 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds. I'm pretty sure we've counted 4 5, 6. Like I wouldn't be surprised if we've hit every age we can count up until we stop being able to count, which in our populations tends to be in the mid to upper teens. We, either the plastrons get too worn to count or whatever. But then we have some really old turtles in these populations as well. So we've got everything from hatchlings to probably 60 or older turtles marked.
That's really cool. I was going to ask. I feel like in the work or I guess I don't do field work. I go and visit people who do field work. So in my visits to field study sites in New York with wood turtles, I felt like the limit there for how far you could go with reliable using the annuli, the rings with growth rings on the shell of the wood turtles was 12 years, if I remember correctly. So I was going to ask you what you guys were seeing.
We feel like we can typically get into that like mid to upper teen, like 15, 16, 17. It depends on the turtle. So the oldest scute is where they start to wear flat soonest. So it typically gets really hard to count those early ones. And then as you're approaching 20, towards the center of the turtle, like they get so close together, it can also get really challenging because they're just not growing much.
Yeah, they're not growing as fast once they mature. Yep.
Right. And I've talked to researchers from farther north that can count way more rings. But like we see with a lot of other species, like a bunch of the Graptomus, for instance, like some of the northern Graptomus, they grow slower but ultimately grow bigger, over time. And some of the wood turtles in the Northeast and up into Canada, it's kind of the same thing going on. And so they have a lot less activity as well because they have a smaller active season. So they get less of that wear and other things from trucking around and stuff. So like I've talked with one guy who I think he can count between 30 and 40 in a population in Canada. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, it really is. We'd never be able to do that. They just wear too much to be able to accurately do that. But we typically get into that. Like I would say 13 to 17 is kind of the norm before we lose counting, depending on the turtle.
Interesting. And I just want to give just for people out there who aren't sure, Graptomus
in Sculpta.
Is
you're talking Graptomus map turtles.
Yeah, so map turtles is what Steve was talking to, and then we were talking about Glyptomes in Sculpta, the wood turtle, North American wood turtle, that we were talking about counting the rings, the growth rings, using the annuli, those how many yearly growth rings there are on a turtle to count how old they are, and you can't do that on a lot of turtles reliably or at all on a lot of turtles. So people will ask that all the time, like or I'll see comments online that someone will say like, well, you can count the rings to know, and like, well, you can on some species, but on a lot it's not reliable or you're not even able to do it at all. So I just wanted to make sure that we gave those little disclaimers. Hi, Kev. Oh, he's muted.
Hey, guys.
You're muted.
Sorry. Oh.
Nope. You were delayed.
Can you hear me?
We can. We can hear you.
Well,
your video's a little hiccupy, but we can hear
delayed.
You.
He's crazy delayed, Steve. That's it. We're kicking him out again. Kicking him out.
Nah, I think we're good.
No, we're not good. He's out. Hi, Two Turtle Tom. I know you. And I also want to say too, on these more laid back episodes, I'd love to hear from folks who are in the chat as well. If there's something that interests you, or bye Kev. Kev left. He's gonna try again. It's happening again, just like last time.
I didn't notice the delay. I just noticed skipping video.
Oh,
the audio sounded.
He was way delayed for me. Maybe it was just on my end.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
anyway, so where were we?
I just before we continue, I just want to say, so if anybody wants to, to throw some things our way that they want to talk about, we'd love to do that. if there's something that you're really interested in, or if we touch on something and you'd like to go in more detail. When we don't have a guest, we have the luxury of kind of letting the conversation go where it needs to go. So with that, Steve, where were you? Steve, you just froze for me.
Oh, there we go.
Hi. I left and came back because you froze for me.
Yeah, no, I think on my end, for whatever reason, I was having static. So,
oh yeah, okay, good. So Steve, you froze. They said.
All right, so
that's what
let's
I saw.
try this again. Oh man, what a night!
Hey, welcome to the Pondcast.
Oh, what a
episode
night!
92. This is great. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
All right, so looks like I'm reconnected well here.
Can I just say something, Steve?
Yeah.
From my perspective, it is. Greg is so funny. It is hard to soar with the Eagles when you're surrounded by turkeys, guys. I'm trying my best here. I don't know what to tell you. Greg thought it was mushrooms night on the podcast. It is. I watched an awesome documentary on mushrooms recently. Oh my gosh, it was so interesting.
Mushrooms are amazing.
I can't hear Kevin. He's delayed for me. Is he delayed for you, Steve?
Audio's in and out.
He's a mess. He's just a mess. It's mushrooms night.
So
NyQuil night.
let's try to find our track again here.
Do it. Prove it.
How about that?
That's better. We'll see how long it lasts. Yeah. Nope. Cutting in and out. I have no idea what's going on. All right, let's try to get on track here. Where were we, Anthony?
Dude, I have no idea. Mushrooms night. That's all I remember. What's a pineal gland? Pineal?
I think that's a lizard thing, but I'm not sure.
It's the third eye. The pineal gland.
Oh, that was good. Hi, Kev.
Hey, guys.
I was just watching Steve Irwin talk about that today. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm not a scientist. The chat is woke tonight. We're not talking about anything. We're just reading the chat. This is great.
Okay, so like I said, where were we? Somebody in the chat, help us out. Where were we when things started getting wonky?
All night.
Great. Yeah, so I'm hearing you fine, Kevin. The video is definitely not in sync with your voice, but that's the way it goes.
I'm going to do this all night.
Let's just stick with it. Yeah, we could. Let's just stick with it. Yeah, so I feel like we were in the middle of something with wood turtles, but I don't remember what it was. And we're planning on getting to the Everglades trip for sure.
This is good.
Like, come on, help me out. Where were we? Like, seriously.
We were on wood turtles. We were talking about...
Right, but where were we? That's what I'm trying to ask. Like, where were we?
You marked your 100th turtle. We talked about marking young ones and old ones. And then we talked about growth annuli. That's it. I don't know where you were going after that.
Okay, is that where I thought we were headed somewhere after that, and I couldn't remember where you were taking it.
Well, you probably were headed somewhere, but I was just hanging on to your coattails. You were taking us there. I don't know where it was.
Got it.
This is epic. This is the crash and burn. They're going to talk about this one on the True Hollywood story about the downfall of the turtle room.
Yeah, we don't pit tag, Greg. The state, for whatever reason, has never wanted us to pit tag wood turtles for whatever reason. Their reasoning, last I knew, was that nobody's ever done it. Apparently, there's no paper on pit tagging wood turtles, so they won't let us pit tag wood turtles. At least that's the way I understand it. It's kind of
interesting.
silly.
You figure they treat it like veterinary
any other
care
turtle
for turtles. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to have the study done on all 300 plus species to be able to help with veterinary care when there's a sick animal.
Yeah.
You just do the best you can.
Yeah, no idea. We'll try to get that changed at some point, but yeah, no pit tags. So when we mark, we're just notching shells.
Any other paper?
What was that?
They won't allow any other paper on pit tagging turtles?
Not for wood turtles, apparently. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm just saying that.
I mean, because they will let us pit tag other turtles. Like they've let us pit tag other turtles, not wood turtles.
Gotcha.
So anyway, so we just hard notch, right? So we actually had another first this fall. It was in our first weekend of the fall. So that would have been 1, 2, 3 weekends ago. Would have been mid-October. For the first time ever, we came across the shell of one we had previously marked, a deceased turtle. Also, that was at our newer site. So we've marked 101 unique turtles there, but there are 100 unique turtles living that we know of since we found one of those 101 that was deceased. So that was a bummer, but again, it was bound to happen one of these times, right? At some point, we were going to come across, the deceased shell of one of our turtles. It was bound to happen, especially at that site where we were getting close to 100. So it was I don't remember how I think it was an older turtle, but sadly it was a female, and that was the biggest bummer. So yeah,
they won't let you take the shell in that case to use for educational purposes either, right?
It wouldn't have been worth it. It had clearly been in the stream way too long. It's losing scutes, it's got algae, like it's decomposing, it's gotten broken, like it was not in good shape. So we just left it. I don't know if they'd let us take it or not, but we were just like, we'll just leave it because it was in rough shape. So
gotcha.
Like when the searcher found it at first, he's like, I think I have one, but it's like the ugliest turtle we've ever seen. And sure enough, it's because the shell was just kind of, all the pretty markings and stuff are either decomposing or getting covered with algae or other things or whatever. So the body had already been eaten out of it. It had been dead long enough that it was just shell. So
that's interesting. I see that with deceased turtles sometimes. The high contrast that you see in their markings goes away.
Yeah,
when
really.
When they pass away.
Yeah.
And like red coloration and things like that make individual animals really attractive can go away when
it fade. Yeah, a lot of those things fade for sure. Yeah. So that was kind of a bummer, but like I said, it was, an expected part of the process at some point. It was a really great fall. We had a day of like 21 turtles or whatever, a couple, into the teens at that site. And we had 3 really good days at our old site where we keep finding random new turtles. Like it's a small site. We've been there, feels like a million times, right? We've got 37 or so unique marked turtles there.
That's awesome.
So actually some cool notes about that site too. We saw some turtles that we hadn't seen in a very long time. One turtle, Anthony, remember when we were out there doing the preliminary work, we found this one really pretty young female that was like 8, 9. I think you might've been the one to find her around that one stump where we found like 2 or 3 turtles.
Okay. Yeah, maybe.
Right. So we saw that turtle.
Actually, I definitely do. I definitely remember.
Yeah. So the last time we saw that turtle was in 2018, when she would have been like 12 or something like that. We finally saw her again. And so one of the things that we're planning on doing is just kind of going back and looking and seeing the annuli count and see just how it lines up with our known capture times. And then we saw another turtle. So some background, we were planning on using a different notch system when we started. And so we were starting to use a different notch system. And then PA clarified something that wasn't clear in their original permit. They're like, no, you need to be using this other notch system. So we had a few notches, like scutes that got used for the first notch system that don't get used in the current one. So we had to remark those under the new notch system and ignore the notches that were like on scutes that don't get used. We recaptured a turtle this weekend. I think it was this weekend. It might have been last weekend. But we recaptured a turtle that we had not seen since like the first fall of official studies in 2017. So we're talking 5 years. We marked her. I think it was a female. She was number 5. So I think we saw her the second ever official weekend. And so we finally recaptured her, now, which was really cool. So yeah, some really cool stuff this fall for sure. Just, especially as you get to know a population.
Steve, I got a question for you, sir.
Yeah.
It's been 5 years. You have a few sites. Where do you see this going? Like, how far do you want it to go? You could work or get people working in.
Yeah. So the initial intention, I think, was at least 10 years at a site, with the idea that, it takes turtles a long time to kind of recruit and replace their populations. Survival rate of hatchlings isn't great. They don't lay a ton of eggs every year kind of thing. So the idea was probably like 10 plus years to actually get an idea. Is this population stable, shrinking, growing? Right.
Okay.
And then after that point, you can ask some different questions. If they're growing, how do we keep them growing, for instance? Or if they're declining, how might we try to learn more about them to conserve their population and maybe turn that trend around? There's some other things that could be done super long term. Nobody actually really knows how long wood turtles live in the wild. And part of the reason for that is you need to mark a turtle when it's young enough that you can count the annuli and then continue to find it decades later, right? So, I think one of the things that we think would be really cool to eventually be able to do is, even if it's not us, is have somebody, back out there in 40, 50 years, going like, okay, we now have a wood turtle we know can live like 65, 70 years because, we had, tracked its age for a while and somebody then found it again or something. Like, that's a simple thing. But to me, I think that'd be really cool to find out, right? It's like, just how long does a wood turtle live? And we have all these estimates that we use based on the wear we see in the shell in our area. That we go, okay, this animal's probably like 40 or this one's probably 60 or okay, it's probably 20, but it'd be really cool to eventually know that, oh, these guys can live to at least to X number of time, but nobody's ever been able to officially declare that because there's just no way to know with wild turtles.
Yeah.
So, so there could be lots of different directions, but the idea would be 10 plus years and then run some actual data and be like, are they growing, shrinking, whatever, and go from there.
That's going to be out there, Steve, 50 years from now.
I mean,
I have faith.
I'll be alive, but I probably won't be trumping from creeks too much. So
I like that. Positive outlook, that optimism. I think you can go out and just set up a lawn chair at like where you start the 4 kilometer trek back and forth, and you can just have the young aspiring researchers out there.
People.
They just they just want like you to autograph your book. And then they go out and walk the creek for you, and you just sit there and process the turtles. And you're like, oh, I remember you. I found this turtle. It was number 5. I remember her.
Yep. Yeah.
Anthony found her. That guy who died 30 years ago. Tall guy. That's what it would be like, I think. Yeah. I'm starting to get delirious. Can you tell? This is
Yeah,
fun.
the NyQuil is kicking in, folks.
This is actually a really good idea. I can't believe it took us 92 episodes to realize. Yeah, sipping on some scissor. Sipping on some sip. Yeah,
like, for
it's happening.
instance, can you protect a nest on nesting? Can you put a nest like protector on roughly when it's time for it to hatch? You can go there and mark those like hatchlings, and you have a better shot of that.
So like right now, we don't know where they nest.
Okay.
At either population. Like we can guess, right? And we have, like with the bigger population, it's more obvious to see where there would be nesting habitat. It's a little more challenging at the other site. They're very different in the older site with the smaller population is very wooded on all sides. It's very much a wooded stream. The newer site that we're at, where we have the bigger population, it's wooded on like half of it, and then a lot of the other half is like ag land, or it's a little more open, right? So it's really easy to see, they could easily hop out and nest, and all these other things. There's a lot of bigger populations where it's wooded on one side to provide that shelter, and then you've got the other side that's a little more open in ag land as well. So and another possible step, and we'd like to eventually do it, is throw some trackers on some of them to actually figure out where they hibernate and where they nest, right? Because that'd be another question. You could ask is, if you do need to conserve them, where do they nest, so we could try to protect nests.
Okay.
Right. So,
yeah, absolutely. What does that look like from a tracking perspective for technology? How long do these trackers last? Because, for instance, organization, they last for like a year and a half.
Yeah, so it depends on the type of tracker, but yeah, you've got radio tracking, which I know Anthony's gotten some experience with Michael Musnick, and those are cheaper than the GPS trackers, which you don't necessarily need to go out in the field to know where they are, right? So that has some of its benefits as well. The radio tracking, you've got to get out there with the device, right, to figure out where they are. Pros and cons both ways, because the radio trackers are a lot cheaper and their batteries last longer than the GPS ones do. So one of the other things that we have to figure out yet too is, and half of it is luck with weather, we've got way more males marked than females at our sites, but we think we might need to get out a little later into the fall a little bit, because we think the females come back to the stream later than the males do. So that's some other things to kind of figure out with the trouble is the two populations are just different enough in altitude and in latitude that a good time at the one site is too early at the other, and a good time at a good time at the other site could possibly be too late at the other, right? Because even though you could drive probably between them, and I want to say on a straight line, in probably less than 2 hours, right? The path that you would take to drive the shortest route between them would take less than 2 hours. Like they're different enough from temperatures, and all sorts of other factors. Like we especially see it in the spring and the fall with how quickly the leaves are growing on the trees, or how quickly they're falling on the trees, off the trees, or whatever. They're different enough that it's challenging to pick 3 weekends that are going to be good for all 3 sites to get out there and kind of maximize what we're trying to do. So.
I did want to stop and just mention that question in the chat from Hard-Shelled Herps. Does someone need to go to school to be able to do field work? Because that's like a dream of mine. And the answer, of course, is no. You don't have to go to school. Now, it helps if you're a student and you're really eager, to get out there and do things and make contacts and that sort of thing, because it does take, proving yourself. A project like the one that we're talking about is not something necessarily that's just like, hey, bring the whole family and everyone from your town to come and see where these turtles are. But over time, if you're affiliated with organizations, or if you've been a volunteer on other projects, then there's kind of like, there's potential for opportunity like that to open up over time. There are some projects that are more open to the public, like the TSA opens up certain surveys for, less threatened species, really important surveys nonetheless, through their NAFTURG initiative down in Florida. And then also, I believe they've done some in Texas as well that have been pretty open just to like TSA members. Am I saying anything that's not true, Steve?
No, I think you're good. You do need to be a TSA member to attend NAFTURG surveys.
And to be a TSA member, you just have to pay $50 for the year. So.
If you're a student, it's even less.
Yeah, it's like half, right? 25, 30?
Yeah, something like that. It might be like 30, but yeah, it's definitely not expensive. If a lot of their surveys happen in Florida, is typically where the most open volunteer ones are. Although there are some in Texas as well that get done. Anyway, yeah.
I said that. I did a good job.
Yeah, you did.
I'm impressed. I blacked out. I don't remember.
But
I was
thank you.
Too busy trying to get this set.
So
quick reminder here for everybody before we transition a little bit. So the new calendar has been on sale in the store for several weeks. Through tomorrow, you can get $1 off when
Full
you pre-order the calendar.
Order now.
Order now, save yourself $1 off of every calendar you buy, even if you buy a dozen of them, which some people do. They're a great gift for turtle-loving friends and family. So buy yourself 17 of them and keep one for yourself and give 16 to your closest turtle-loving friends.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea.
I do personally buy like 70.
Prove it.
A photo
the
in there.
ticker thing is cool, right? Kevin just said that in the chat, but in our personal chat here that you guys can't see because we're scandalous like that. The ticker is interesting. It's pretty good. I feel like I want to get we're gonna get the Monday Night Football score on there in a couple minutes.
We've used it occasionally. I figured this was a good moment to bust it out again. So
that's what's up.
Watch out for those codes out taken at the bottom.
Yeah. Look out.
So, Anthony, we've had a couple requests for you to talk about your Florida trip. I know you hit up. I know you were down in the Everglades, but you also visited our friend Ty Park at Iguana Land as well. And in case not everybody knows, there are actually some turtle rooms. The turtle room sent him some animals for his exhibits as well down there.
He said it as soon as I got there. He was so thankful. He's very. He keeps score. He's very grateful for that sort of thing. Yeah. And he knew as soon as I came, he thanked me for that, even though I personally really didn't have a lot to do with that. But I was still, very proud to hear how grateful he was for the turtle room when I got there. But
no doubt.
But yeah, it was definitely an Anthony type trip. If you've ever tuned into Turtlely Devoted, Shannon and I will go back and forth on what the best vacation is. And for me, it's just cramming in as many experiences as possible and putting pressure on it for no reason, like Clark W. Griswold. And then she's like my family who just wants to she's like Clark W. Griswold's family who just wants to relax and enjoy themselves and not be bothered by me and my antics. So anyway, I was down there it was an interesting actually situation because Ralph and Charlie, two people who we've had on the podcast as guests, two really well-known people in the turtle and tortoise world these days, both got together, had a conversation. And then they came to me, and Ralph was so proud to kind of present me like, "Hey, we want you to come down, Charles."
Hop him off for a second. He'll notice. Hey, Anthony, you are cutting back. I'm just going to fill in and bring you back in a second once your connection stabilizes again. Sorry about that, folks. He'll be right back in. There he is. Let's bring him back.
I'm embarrassed.
There we go. It's just the way it's going tonight. So since it wasn't me this time, I was actually able to do something about it. So,
Dang it. Where was I when I went out?
Nonsense. That's not my.
You were just getting started, basically.
You were just getting started. I went.
Yeah, you basically had mentioned that Ty was so thankful, and then you were saying it was an Anthony type trip, and it was right after that it started getting all garbly.
I'm embarrassed. You know what's funny when things like that happen? you can just like do like this, and then everyone freaks out and thinks that you froze, but I didn't really freeze. I didn't really freeze, did I? Because that would be funny. Now I have no confidence to go on my story. So sorry, if you've ever tuned into Turtly Devoted, you know an Anthony trip is one where I want to jam a bunch of experiences. Shannon wants to just relax. And anyway, I crammed a lot into this. It ended up being a work trip. Ralph and Charlie got together and wanted me to come down and really badly. And then work just happened the next day to tell me that they wanted me to come down. So it worked out perfectly. So I gave a presentation. I walked through the Everglades. I visited Charlie. I visited Ralph. It was a really wonderful, wonderful time. And then we met in between at Iguanaland as well. So it was awesome. Can you guys hear me? I just have no confidence that anybody can hear me.
Oh, yeah. It's going great. I see a nice 4 bars of connection for you.
Cool.
What was your favorite thing at Iguanaland?
Oh, at Iguanaland? I don't know if everyone has seen online, but the enclosures that have the blue metal panels as walls, those were my favorite thing at Iguanaland. And the reason for that is those enclosures are really natural, grown in, running water, moving water. They each have like their own little moving stream. And in a lot of those enclosures, you can't see everything. So it reminds you of like Jurassic Park, like where Ian Malcolm, played by Jeff Goldblum, is like, there will be dinosaurs on this dinosaur tour, will there not?
Yeah.
But that's what made it special to me in a lot of ways. A lot of those enclosures, like if you're gonna build a zoo based on diversity, like he's got like four little enclosures where he's got all 4 types of painted turtles back to back to back to back. If you're gonna have that, then you know what? I don't need to see every painted turtle, but you have them, and that's really cool. And if I don't see 20%, maybe that brings me back to come and see him again. So I like that too. Sure. You know, I think we've had Ty on. I think he's really passionate. I can't believe what he's put into it, and I happened to be there right after Hurricane Ian came through and did a number on Punta Gorda. But yeah, I mean, you have to respect what he's doing, and I think, you know, I asked myself coming out of there, because a lot of people are really critical about what he does and who he is and all of that, and I think, you know, if I were capable of doing what he did, I'd probably do my best to try to do the same darn thing. And, you know, he may not be perfect, and I'm not perfect, but I think that from a reptile lover's perspective, the world is a better place because Iguanaland's in it. And I wish we had more initiatives, exciting initiatives like that were being built up. And I gave him some feedback. Instead of just saying, "Oh man, it's so great," which it really was, we were able to go to lunch, and I was able to give him some of my thoughts on some things, which was really important for me personally, because I'm the type of person, like, you bring my lunch out and it's still mooing or something, and I'm like too scared to tell you to take it back, or that something's wrong, or the thing I ordered isn't what I got, you know, like at baseline, like as a kid. But in my professional life, I've learned that you have to speak up about what you believe in, but you have to do it in a respectful way. And we were able to have a really great conversation, and I was able to give my feedback on a couple of things that I happen to know a little bit about. And it was great. Sorry, Chris, my audio slowed down. He said, "Home Alone." Like, are you talking about Home Alone? Home Alone 2? Hello. What is his dad's name? Damn it. This is Michael McAllister, the father. That's Home Alone 2. When he has his, what is it called? Talk Boy?
Yeah, I think so.
Michaela says that I'm fine. Thank you.
Yeah, I can't remember which one is Home Alone 2, to be honest.
It's when he's lost in New York. Home Alone 2, Lost in New York.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not as memorable as Home Alone, the original, though.
What?
The dad was
not much better in here, kid. Peter McAllister, the father. That's right.
Yeah.
I just remember Uncle Frank.
Yeah, it's definitely Peter, though.
You're cooking,
Definitely
Frankie. Let's just. Hey, we're getting towards the holidays here. Let's just make this a Home Alone 2 appreciation podcast. Thanks to Chris D, who thinks that my audio is turned down. Maybe it's just the way I sound because I had NyQuil. That's what happens to me when I have NyQuil. You know? I'm just saying. But it was a really good trip.
You take NyQuil for fun.
Not often. Yeah, not often. Not often. I didn't sleep and I needed to sleep and here we are. So it's okay.
Oh yeah. You know, another place people could volunteer in Texas would be Texas Turtles.
All right. You know what, Steve? Before you finish that, if it's not about Home Alone 2, just forget it. Oh, okay. So that's the interesting piece. So if you're watching on Facebook, maybe it's not as good. Phil is saying that it's better on YouTube. Thank you, Phil, for checking it out. I appreciate you. Phil, I have to tell you, you sent me Reptiles magazines. See those? So I've been writing for Reptiles. Update time. Ready? Story time. Sorry if my audio gets slow, but I have to tell this story. So Reptiles has changed a lot. New paper. It's got new paper now. It's odd. A lot of people are not sure about it. I've been still writing for Reptiles. I like writing for Reptiles. I can still remember getting Reptiles magazine for the first time from a store and just being like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. These people know so much, and never even thinking that one day I could write for it. So I still have that kind of respect for the magazine all these years later, and I still like to write for them because I think it gets the word out about certain species to a different audience than we normally reach. So anyway, I enjoy it. I still do it, but they stopped getting, so the editor doesn't get copies of the magazine anymore, which I found maybe a little bit hard to believe, but they haven't been able to send me any copies. So I have to subscribe, but I wasn't subscribed for a while. So I missed several of my articles. Like there's several articles that I've written where people were like, hey man, nice article on mud turtles. And I've never seen it in print and can't get it because you can't buy back issues anywhere. So I'm like trying to find somebody. So Phil, you're a good man. You're such a good man. Sent me magazines that just came in the mail today, right before we went live. So I'm really excited about that.
You're not getting to Barnes & Noble when you know they're coming out.
Well, it's weird. Like I don't necessarily remember exactly what months they're coming out or whatever. And most of the time I get there, but there's been times that I haven't. One time I got there and I was too late. Like, I don't know if they sold out or what. And then I asked the people at Barnes & Noble, like, do you have these in the back or what do you do? And they're like, no, we just donate them. Damn it. You need to donate them to me. I'm going there and spending $7 an issue every time.
Listen, man.
You'd figure for the article, you'd at least get a free copy, you know?
Yeah. They still pay a small amount for writing.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Yeah. But like, I don't care about that. I'd rather just have like 4 issues. And
right. Well, exactly.
Yeah. I don't write for that reason at all. Never.
Do you take them out and frame them?
I have the 2 articles I wrote that became like the cover story for the magazine. I have those framed in my office at work. Yeah. But they do. I mean, you know, no matter which one it is, they end up with these nice spreads, like with the title and the photo. Here you go. Now, what's funny about this is that's a hybrid. And I sent him the photos when he was going to run the article. And I said, let me know which photos you want to use and I'll write captions for them. And then he just ran the article. So it's a hybrid turtle that leads the Chinese box. The photo that leads the Chinese box turtle article is the hybrid from the one that Chris has, Chris Leone.
So mix one?
I'm sorry, what was that, Kev?
Mix one?
It's the hybrid one. I don't know what you're asking, but the hybrid, the red dragon, the Chinese box turtle that's mixed with the Ryukyu black-breasted leaf turtle, the red-looking one. I don't know what you're saying because I can't hear you. So you can put it in the chat if you want to. And yes, Chris D, we can all agree that Die Hard is a Christmas movie. Absolutely, One of the best Christmas movies. Unique in its own right. Oh, Kevin was saying Japonica. People probably heard you, but I couldn't tell what you were saying. I don't like these technical difficulties. I don't like these technical difficulties.
Where I live.
I think it's internet too, but I don't know. It seems weird that normally internet causes more video problems than audio problems, and yours are audio problems, which is really unusual. So,
yeah, I've gotten new headphones since the last one. A new iPad.
I'm embarrassed. We got to get it together. Vote you off the island. Kick you out the condo like Pam. That's a Martin reference. Good. Apologize to everyone publicly. Kevin just apologized in the chat, everyone, just in case you missed it. Just saying. And then, gosh, less than 2 weeks, a week and a half, is the TTPG conference, Turtle and Tortoise Preservation Group. Who's going? Anybody going? I want to hear in the chat. Are you going? Kevin's not going. What's funny about this is, really funny story that goes along with this. Kevin was all over me for about 2 years, like TTPG 2022, TTPG 2022. I'm telling you, man, we're going. It's official. We're doing it. And he's not going after all that. We're renting an RV. I'm bringing my whole family. Anthony, you going to bring your family?
If I may, if people out there can hear me, it happened. It was absolutely, the vacation was planned. We were going there 100%. We were going to fly. We were going to do like 3 drive over to Arizona. And then I get, and he says, you can't. So I had to shift it by home before Friday conference. It didn't make sense for me to go to Arizona for like 1 hour that way through car. So
we'll talk about this offline. I'm disappointed. I'm going.
Yeah,
I'm flying down Thursday morning, and I'm coming back Saturday earlier. So I'm only really gone for less than 3 days. I'm only gone for 2 nights. And I'm still going to get the whole meat and potatoes of everything. So yeah, you're right, Chris. We do need to have an East Coast version of something because there's not really much that happens in the Northeast area anyway, and there's a lot of people up here. But yeah, I think I was able to talk Mark De Silva into going. He's one of the people I mentioned that he's going. I see some people who are speaking that are making comments, which is awesome. I think that's what you need to do, Kev, is if you were asked to speak and you tell work like ahead of time, like 6 months in advance, like, hey, I'm going to this conference and I'm speaking at it. Here are my dates. Like, I don't know.
So
I feel like that's tougher for them to say no to.
Get out of like the retail portion of my business, trainer, and look into some other avenues as well. This wouldn't be an issue. This is because it's like all big sales weekend nonsense.
Yeah, but that's ridiculous. You don't need to be there for that.
It's
your time off. So like one of my experienced tech supervisor at the we have 2 now, but one is really new. But my experienced tech supervisor goes away every year during Tech Week. It's her birthday. Her family goes away. They've always gone away her whole life. It's not her fault that her birthday lands during Tech Week. It's a pain in the butt for us, really, and it's a pain in the butt for her because she has to get everything ready. But like, she doesn't have to be there. Now we could be jerks and say, yeah, you have to be there, but she doesn't have to be there. Like, this is an important thing that happens once a year and that you've never been to and that you've been asked to speak at. Let's go. And Dr. Tony Monahan has asked if I'm flying out of Newark, and the answer is yes. Are we on the same flight? Let me find out that you and I get to hang out in the airport together and just talk about turtles the whole time. That would be amazing. Dr. Monahan is a friend. He's a wonderful guy who I met years ago at the New York Turtle and Tortoise Society meeting, and who has been to my house and is doing amazing projects and traveling around in the name of turtles, which is incredible. And if I'm not mistaken, he will be the banquet speaker, which is like a crazy cool honor. I'm really, really excited about that. And then Tom Arbor is asking, how about a Turtle Room conference? That's very sweet. Are you going, Tony? Are you going at 6 a.m. on Thursday? Because we're on the same flight. That's amazing. How do we get seats next to each other? Because I definitely need someone who I'm comfortable with sitting next to me, because I'm going to be half in their seat. If you want to be that person, we could sleep with our heads together. Tony, yes, we're on the same flight, bro. This is incredible. Oh, incredible. I love it.
Yeah, I remember I got to hang out with Anders Rodin in an airport after a turtle conference.
That's sick. I love it. I'm sorry to say it that way. I'm really tired, but that's really cool.
I will say I think that our organization is plausible. Why wouldn't it be?
Resources. We don't have the resources to host an in-person conference. We'd have to charge everybody way more than they'd want to pay to attend.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, Kevin.
I mean,
I just figure we could rent a banquet hall.
Yeah, and then you gotta that isn't cheap, depending on how many, and you gotta guess how many people you're gonna get, or limit it based on the size of the hall you get. And then if you're gonna do a conference, like if you're gonna rent it for multiple days, and then there's providing like breaks and all that other stuff that normally happens, that food or the snacks and all those other things, and internet, because the hotel's gonna make you pay for that if you want to use it, and all their tech and whatever else. So yeah, it adds up. Like the TSA does not make money on their conference. It isn't cheap. They don't charge. I mean, they charge, like for TSA members, it's like 200 plus. For non-members, it's like 500, and they still don't make money on it. So like, sadly,
one thing that I like about our organization here. So theoretically, for anyone, if this is plausible at all, at some point. Maybe, and everybody that wants to go, it's split up. It's a conference that we can have in like Oregon. We would need the help paying for everything. Potential. Maybe I should talk to offline instead of online.
Yes.
Sorry.
First of all, yes. Offline. Second of all, stop embarrassing us. Third of all, we're trying to do. I'm just totally kidding. I'm just making fun of you because you're Kevin Minto. The point is to come up with things that don't exist already too. So like, you want a good turtle conference on captive breeding? TTPG exists. The conference. What is the TSA conference actually called, Steve? Because I mess this up all the time.
So it's the Symposium on the Conservation and Biology of Tortoises and Freshwater Turtles.
Because it's not just the TSA conference. Everyone calls it the TSA conference, but it's not. So that conference
it's also hosted by the TFTSG.
Right, and it does have. Does it still have a captive component, Steve? That you know?
Yeah,
of?
there's always some bits of captive component to it. Yeah, there's always at least some.
So I mean that's there too, but then also the research-based stuff and everything, and so that already exists. So like, and I'm actually, one thing that I do with folks I've done with folks quite a few times now is folks who have started their own nonprofits, who have asked me over the years about kind of what they can do with their nonprofits, in what direction they can go, and that sort of thing. Is think about what you can do that is unique, and because what sets you apart is going to be that thing that you can hang your hat on, that thing that you can use to work towards donations and that sort of thing, and actually making a measurable difference. So with groups like the Turtle Conservancy and the TSA and the TTPG doing so many wonderful things, that's something that we've had to think about for a really long time. So I think with the conference situation, that's something that falls right in line with that as well. And Kevin, I don't mean to give you a hard time. Like you're the best. We can absolutely talk. I think our transparency is something that we are very proud of too for our group. It's like, we've been out there, like our YouTube videos from the very beginning. Like if you want to have a laugh, go and watch the YouTube videos from 11 years ago and 12 years ago. Like it's really comical, some of that stuff, but it's, you know, it's out there. It shows the progression and how things have changed. So. That's an interesting thought. Dr. Monahan says, I'm sorry, Tony, I keep calling you Dr. Monahan, but I just feel like respecting you. He says, make a turtle conference for the mainstream population who love turtles and maybe don't know too much about them. Well, I think it's interesting that you mentioned that, because that's really something that I think you've taken a lot of interest in, and
yeah,
I'm excited to see where you go with that, but I'm happy to discuss things more with you offline as well. Me, you, and Kevin can have a chat, since we're going to talk offline. Isn't that fun? I tried to. This is amazing. This is like, couldn't have worked out better, because I wanted Mark De Silva to. I kind of peer pressured him into going, and then was really trying to get him to come to Newark and fly out of Newark with me, so I had somebody to talk to. So now I'm going to be sitting there. Tony, do me a favor. Get to the Newark airport at like 2 a.m. so we could talk. So we can just talk turtles together. That'd be great. This is going to be terrific. Cool. Well, we're over an hour now. I think we did pretty well with this one, considering the technical difficulties, that sort of thing. I hope people could still hear me. Yeah, thank you so much for always tuning in, for everything that you provide, you know, in the chat while we're chatting, and being there for us through all of this. For those of you guys who have been listening for a really long time, we're looking forward to kind of updating the Pondcast and our other podcasts. Kind of, we're talking about new directions and new changes and that sort of thing and everything. So we're really excited. So more to come on that in the future. For those of you who will be at the TTPG conference in less than 2 weeks, look forward to seeing you. And for everyone else, we look forward to seeing you in a month.
Yeah. Hey, for any area or San Diego area, I'm going to be out there next. Interesting setups that you'd love to have on video. I'm going to check them out. So reach out to me. I guess it's under Piaggio.
Type it in the chat, Kevin. Type it in the chat.
Yeah.
To make sure.
We both can't hear him. He sounds
but
lovely.
Yet nobody in our audience says they're having trouble hearing Kevin Minto. So I'm going to assume that they're hearing him, but just in case, let's type that important information in the chat where people can see it a little bit easier and come back to it for sure.
Yeah. And Herp Nerd. I keep hearing a weird underwater echoey type thing that's happening. It's really epic. It's a new one that I haven't heard. Oh yeah, they're all saying they can't hear him. He's a mess.
Oh, okay. Now they are. Okay.
He's a mess. They were just being nice to you before, Kevin. They feel bad because I always give you such a hard time. They didn't want to pile it on.
Makes sense.
Compound the issue. Yeah. Yeah. Tony said, can't hear him. It's classic. Oh my gosh. I can't believe we made it through. And didn't even embarrass ourselves once, except the whole time. Okay. I'm putting us out of our misery. Everyone who tuned in, appreciate you. Thank you so much. See you next time. Deuces.
Don't forget to get your calendars. $1 off through November 8th, which is tomorrow. After that, they go up $1. You can still get them. We'll have them. We'll be shipping them after Thanksgiving. All right, guys. Have a good night. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Kevin. Love you both.
Love you.